And we are live, I believe. Hello, everyone. My name's Paul Nowak. I'm the founder and CEO here at Iris Reading. Thanks for checking out our live stream. This is somewhat experimental because we've never done one of these giveaways before. And I wanted to do a little session on YouTube. We've got a somewhat decent following. I think we're around like 43,000 subscribers. Just a reminder, if you haven't checked out our channel before and you're interested in topics like how to read more efficiently, how to be more productive, how to memorize information, essentially learning how to learn, definitely subscribe to the channel. We're going to be putting out content consistently. And the goal of today's session actually is to announce the giveaway live. The goal is also to cover some speed reading and memory tips and techniques. So if you love reading and you were interested in this particular device, which is the newest version of the Kindle, it's got a stylus so you can take notes as well. Then being able to read faster, being able to learn how to remember what you read. We've all had that situation, right, where you read something and you're like, I have absolutely no clue what I just read. It's something that you can improve on, all of these things: reading faster, improving comprehension, having a better memory, being more focused. And ultimately, I think this all falls under the umbrella of productivity, I'd say. We all would like to get more out of our day, and I know all of us sometimes feel very, very strained by, oh my gosh, there's only 24 hours in a day and I got so much to get done. So we'll cover that. I'll also open things up to a Q&A session. So we do have the live chat available. I do see people already participating in the chat. I'm kind of looking over to it on the side. So hello, everyone. Also, Cynthia, Miss Cynthia Cabral is in the chat too. She's one of our teachers, and she does a lot of these workshops. We do these workshops throughout the US, not just in the US. We've done them in over 100 cities across the world. We've got instructors in Singapore, London. We've done this. We've got an instructor in Hong Kong. Before the pandemic, we were doing us all over the place. And of course, during the pandemic, we switched to doing just webinars. So hi there to everyone. I'm curious to know, let me know in the chat where you guys are, where are you guys from? I am broadcasting today from Miami. I moved here about a year and a half ago. My hometown is Chicago, though. So curious to know where you guys are from. We had people actually join us from around the world for this particular giveaway. So I'm very, very curious. I see one person says India. We had people from a bunch of major cities all over the place and small cities too. So let's go over, first of all, let me give you some background on what we do. We teach speed reading, of course, but we work on comprehension as well and retention. What you remember is different than what you comprehend. So think of comprehension as like, what are you understanding at that moment? And I see Robin from Texas. I see Grumpy Bear from Ohio. Francesca from New York. Hello, Virginia, New Jersey. Look at this, Connecticut, Ohio. So we got people from all over the place. Now, a few things I already mentioned this. Speed reading techniques is what we cover, maximizing memory, note-taking strategies. I will be keeping an eye on the chat, and I'll try to make sure that we cover questions at the end. But we had a bunch of questions that came in during the giveaway as well. We had a section there where you could earn more entries if you asked a question related to reading or memory. And we covered things even for people preparing for standardized reading tests. What I want you to know, you can ask questions as we go along here in the chat. And if for some reason you don't win this Kindle, don't be too disappointed, because I'm basically going to give you a freebie session here on how to read faster. We'll go over some quick tips, how to remember material better, and taking notes. So feel free to ask questions as well. And Q&A session. Let's go over some questions that came in while we were doing this giveaway. The first question is from Mike in accounting, our accounting department here. Why are we doing this? Chelsea's asking, have we announced the winner yet? No, we're going to get to that in a few moments. Just bear with me here. So why we were doing this giveaway, this was actually asked by our accounting department. Why waste money and just give somebody a free, and we're going to do more of these contests, by the way. So if you entered into the contest, unless you unsubscribed, we will let you know about the next contest, the next giveaway. I think we'll try to maybe take it up a notch. And if you want to enter, you can. But why in accounting, Mike in accounting, to answer your question is, one, I love the Kindle. I've been reading the Kindle on the Kindle since the first generation. And we figured this would be a good way to engage our audience, bring new people in to learn about Iris reading and what we do here. By the way, speed reading, I learned speed reading techniques when I was a student in college during my freshman year. And I absolutely love reading books, but I always felt like a slow reader. And I learned these techniques from a professor that I had in college. And it came from me basically complaining to him that, you know what, there's too much to read, not enough time, like I can't keep up. And I was taking 5 classes my freshman year. I was on the basketball team and I had a part-time job, and I could not keep up with all that reading. And my professor told me to take a speed reading course. He told me he took one when he was in college, and it would help him out a lot. So that's how I got involved teaching speed reading eventually. I learned it freshman year, but when I started out, I measured my speed. I was at 190 words per minute, which is around average. So I got a standardized reading test to go along with that. I didn't score so well. I remember getting a 60% on this test. And we went through about 10 hours of training. And I started making progress bit by bit. And I remember my last session with my professor, it was from 190 to 830 words a minute. So about 4 times faster. I mean, as far as comprehension goes, because that's usually a big question we get, what about comprehension? I remember second time around on the test, instead of a 60%, I got an 83%. And I remember thinking back at the time, why didn't I learn this earlier? I should have learned this when I was in high school. And it helped me juggle work and school. Actually, I started working a full-time job my sophomore year while also going to school full-time. So this helped me tremendously. And the way I started Iris reading actually was sort of by accident. I took an entrepreneurship class during my final year of college, and our professor wanted everyone to come up with a business idea. And this is what I started as a little class project. It was me just tutoring one-on-one. Little by little, I started, well, first of all, when I started tutoring, one of the things I found was I just really, really loved teaching. So I kept doing it after I graduated. Even though I was working full-time, I was working in finance in the futures and options industry, the trading world. But I always had this fear of public speaking. And I would just do this one-on-one, but little by little, eventually I got over that fear and started doing classes, and we've done these classes all over the place. So just to give you some background on where I'm coming from. So does speed reading work? That's a common question I get all the time. I remember being very skeptical about it when I heard about it years ago. And yes, reading is a skill, just like anything else, but don't expect to go like 50 times faster. What if you could just double your reading speed? Well, you can. I mean, well, depends on where you are as far as speed goes. So if you're an average reader, average speed is around 200 words a minute or so. You can get to 400 words a minute, but it takes some training, like anything else. For most people, anywhere from 2 to 5 times faster is possible while maintaining comprehension. Okay, that's what is in the realm of possibility. It also depends on a variety of factors, right? Is it your native language, right? If you had a different language than English growing up, well, you might read faster in that language than English, but you can build up your speed over time, not just with better vocabulary, but by training yourself. So that's part of what we do here. Here's the other thing. I had another question that came in during the contest. What's the best way to start? I'm a slow reader, but I love to read. If you go to our website, irisreading.com, and we have a free speed reading 101 course. Let me show you where you can find that. If you haven't already checked it out, you go to irisreading.com right over here, and if you click on our blog, and we got a lot of cool content on the blog, you can click on this free speed reading course, and that will cover the basics if you haven't already gone over the basics. If you want to get into the more nitty gritty and do a deep dive, check out our online courses. That's where you can find a foundation course. We have a mastery course, but check those out. Again, the website is irisreading.com, and if you want that free course, actually, you know what? I think I'll just let's paste it into the chat here. 1 second here. I'm just going to type it out. irisreading.com/resources. So if you go to that link, hello, Tiffany from North Carolina. By the way, I can't keep up with all of the chat, but I do have Cynthia in the chat as well. So if you see Cynthia in the chat replying to you, she's one of our instructors. So here's another question I get, well, fairly often. What's the best way to start? That speed reading 101, that's a good way to start. What else we had? Can you teach speed reading to a 12-year-old? Yeah, at what age range does it make sense? it turns out it's around the age of 12 where you could start picking up these skills. I say around the age of 12 because it's not exactly 12. Some kids are ahead of the game. Some kids are a little behind. Some people are right where they need to be. But I would say around the age of 12 is when you could start teaching people to go a bit faster, because you got to build up your vocabulary to a certain extent. But some of the other skills that we teach, like the memorization techniques, those you can learn as a kid. So will this help me learn a language? So the memorization techniques, one of them that we cover, let me go over it right now. We don't go into language learning per se, but there is one technique. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I have another set of slides for memory. There's a technique, if you want to remember words, new vocabulary, there's a technique called the similar sound technique. And this can help to a certain extent with language learning, helps you remember the meaning of words. So it looks like this: claustrophobia. Let's say you have to remember that word. You probably already know what it means, but you take a similar sound like claws, and you got to connect it to some image like Santa Claus. It doesn't have to be Santa Claus. Claus also sounds like the claws of a monster, right? But what we do is you take that sound and you got to combine it with the meaning, right? Fear of closed spaces. So if I was teaching this to a young kid, what this word meant, I would say, imagine it's the night before Christmas. You hear some yelling at night. Turns out Santa Claus is stuck in a chimney, and he is terrified of being stuck in chimneys because he's claustrophobic. So that's how we might remember that word. Or here's another word you may not be familiar with. Anybody know what this means without looking it up? This is, by the way, the fear, it's pronounced ballonophobia. Ballonophobia is the fear of needles. Okay, let's say you got to remember that as one of your vocabulary words. We focus maybe here, balloon. What does that sound like to you? I don't know about you, but balloon kind of sounds like balloon to me. Now, there's not the fear of balloons. This is the fear of needles. But we're just going to use the balloon to help us remember that it's the fear of needles. So I would picture a giant balloon afraid of needles coming in to pop it. And you really got to exaggerate these images when you think of them in your head, because that, it turns out, memory researchers have a name for it. They call it elaborative encoding. Elaborative encoding is when you come up with some weird image to remember something. So we'd picture like this giant red balloon, it's sweating, maybe this is all happening in slow motion, and the balloon is like, no, and needles are coming at it. That would be considered elaborative encoding, but it's really just come up with a ridiculous image and you'll remember it. Isn't that what advertisers do, right? Like when you watch Super Bowl commercials, they go all out, right? To try to make something funny, ridiculous, and it's because we remember things that are weird. So same thing here. If you have to remember anthrophobia, which is the fear of people, well, you could get that from the prefix, right? Anthro, as in anthropology, study of people, or you could focus on ants. Maybe a bunch of ants are afraid of people stepping on them. So that's the idea. So to answer long-winded answer to your question, yes, these kind of techniques can help you learn a language. And of course, the more you read, the better you get at learning that new language. How do you refresh these skills as you age? Well, if you can build up your speed to a certain extent, you can maintain it so long as you're reading on a regular basis. And when I say reading on a regular basis, I don't just mean, reading and scrolling through your phone, like, some dedicated focused reading where you're spending 10, 15, 20, 30 or more minutes as you're going along. So you can maintain these skills if you're actively reading on a daily basis. Oh, I get this question all the time. Can you read fast and still enjoy a novel? Yes, you can. Actually, when we work with students that are in high school, we see people reading at various ranges. So I told you the average is around 200 words a minute, but some people are reading at like 100 words a minute. Others are reading at 300 words a minute. Sometimes we'll have one high school class and there is somebody reading at 100 and someone at 300. 9 times out of 10, the person at 300 words per minute is not only reading faster, but is comprehending better. And if you're wondering why, part of it is because faster readers tend to have better focus. And if you have better focus, well, then you'll have better comprehension and you'll probably read faster. And usually, a lot of times, the people that are reading below average in terms of speed, it's because they have trouble with focus. It's because, and if you have trouble with focus, you're not only going to go slower, but you'll have worse comprehension. So yes, you can read fast and still enjoy a novel. Now, I'm not talking so fast where you're at the point of like skimming, because skimming is not the same as like, I wouldn't equate it to like speed reading. So speed reading, the assumption here, if we're saying reading, that implies we need to have comprehension. We all know that your reading speed does not matter unless you're comprehending the material. How long does it take to improve these skills? We sometimes do 1 hour webinars and people make a nice little improvement in that short period of time. Now you're not going to like triple your speed in that amount of time because it takes practice like anything, but this can take 1 hour at a minimum to make some sort of improvement. Actually, if you check out the Speed Reading 101 class that I mentioned, and again, to go to that class, you go to our website, irisreading.com, right over here. I put the link in the, but if you go to irisreading.com, click on blog, that's where you could find that free speed reading course. And that's about, I think, that's like a quick 30, 40-minute course. And most people will come away making a marginal improvement in their speed. You'll get some good tips there. We're going to cover some of them today. So I want to talk about the Kindle because we're going to give it away. We're going to do this giveaway in just a few moments. But I remember buying the first generation of the Kindle back in 2007. And I was absolutely mesmerized because I love reading so much. But it's also weird, kind of weird because like I love reading physical books, but at any one time I might be reading 3 or 4 different books in different genres. So I remember having this and I was, oh my gosh, I could fit all these books in one spot. This is going to be awesome. And the first generation looked like this back in 2007. So it's interesting to see how far we've come along here. Now, this was 2009. 2 years later, they upgraded the Kindle. It looked like this. What do we got? 2010, they came out with a Kindle DX. As you can see, they're just kind of moving the buttons around, it seems like, from generation to generation. Here we had the 2010 Kindle keyboard. Then we got 2011, the Kindle 4. So even less buttons. They got rid of that keyboard altogether. Let's see. I see Ms. Dawson says, I have the Paperwhite, life-changing. My reading has become much quicker. Yeah, I think I started reading more because I had the Kindle device. By the way, I should also mention, this live stream is not sponsored by Amazon, although it should be because we're giving away a Kindle, right? Come on, Amazon, shower us with some of that internet money. Make it rain. We'll have to reach out to Amazon to ask them about sponsorship. But yeah, 2011, they had another version. They've been coming out with new versions practically every year. So from 2012 to 2015, they had like various versions of the Kindle Paperwhite. I think this was version 3. By the way, I have stored away somewhere like all my old versions of Kindles. The Kindle Voyager, I remember having this one in 2014. They started making upgrades. Every year you got more storage. There was this Kindle Oasis in 2016. And then we had 2017, the Kindle 8. Oasis number 2 in 2017. It looks like, I feel like they just find an excuse to move buttons around, add a few more gigabytes every year. That's what it seems like. At some point, they're like, oh, it's now waterproof. I think at this point in 2018, it was waterproof. That actually came in handy because I remember reading my Kindle when I was traveling in a hotel hot tub, and I dropped it in the water. So it was nice when they came out with the waterproof version. Let's see here. I see Taylor says, I've had a Kindle Fire for 11 years and finally biting the dust. Wow, 11 years. That is a very, very old Kindle. But hey, if it's working, it's working. Oasis 3 came out. I guess they started changing, the background where you could have like a warmer view. Kindle Paperwhite 5. By the way, one of the things I liked about reading on a Kindle as opposed to reading on my tablet, like on the iPad, I felt like I was more focused because what else could you really do with these Kindles, the ones that have the black and white? It's not really great for browsing, but I'd be more focused because I'm just reading. So when I was on an iPad and tried reading ebooks on there, or even ebooks on my phone from the Kindle app, I'm more distracted because you get a text message, notifications, pop-ups, things like that. So I do like reading on these devices. Kindle 11 in 2022, and of course, at the end of 2022, I think it was November that they launched. So this is the latest version, and that is the progression. So you can see from 2007, this now looks like prehistoric, even though when it came out, I was like, this is mind-blowing. Now it looks like, whoa. All right, so we should have like a drum roll over here. We'll do a little drum roll. And by the way, if you don't win I know you might want to bail out here. That's fine, fair enough. But if you want to stick around after we announce the winner, you can learn some techniques that we're going to cover, some speed reading techniques. We'll go over some quick tips. So let me go into this area over here. We are going to make that here it is. Okay. So this is a live draw, and just so you know, it's our first time doing this. We made sure any employees that have signed up for this from Iris Reading are not valid for this. So if it comes back with an @irisreading.com email address, that's not a valid draw. We'll draw another. Also, whoever gets picked for this, it is going to obscure the email address. So you will not see the whole email. We're doing that for privacy reasons. We're streaming this online, so we don't want to provide someone's email address live for everyone to see. Okay, so let's go ahead and just click this live draw. Okay, from all the entries. Okay, we're just gonna hit there, live draw, do live. 10, now, oh, the suspense is killing me here. Look at this. 7, 6, 5. Hurry up, faster. Fingers crossed. Oh, look at this. Birdie and Hot Pink 6 at something.com. So if that email address looks like your email address, here's what you got to do. You're going to shoot me an email, and my email is just paul@irisreading.com. And I need to make sure that it's coming from this particular email. No email spoofing, we'll be able to tell. And we will arrange for you to get that Kindle. Also, we need to hear from the person within 7 days. If we don't hear from them within 7 days, then we have to draw another name. So hopefully this particular email is watching. We'll also send it out to people. By the way, I'm going to mention real quick here, because some of you came here to learn some of the speed reading techniques that we cover in our classes. So let's go over some of the basics here. And I'm going to pull out the, let's see here. Here we go. So first and foremost, if I had to do a speed reading workshop, this would kind of be it. So first off, if you're trying to, here's how most people read. You see these, you can see this little green dot bouncing around. This is how most people read, word by word, right? Not always. Sometimes you're like, hold on, back up. I didn't understand any of that. I got to reread it again. You ever have that happen where your mind you just zone out? That can be very frustrating. So the simplest thing you can do if you're trying to read faster is to start, if you have paper-based material, easiest thing you can do is to start using your hand, finger, or pen as a guide. So what I mean by that is literally dragging your finger across the page, or pen. I mean, some people prefer to use a pen, and that's fine. But the reason this is helpful is because your eyes are naturally attracted to motion. Anything that moves around gets your attention. That's how our eyes are wired as human beings. So imagine if there was a bee flying around in your room right now, you'd be a little distracted, right? Because it's a bee, and also because it's moving around. Any movement catches our attention. You want to get better attention on the page, just use your hand or your finger or a pen as a guide. And there's actually some science behind why you want to do this. It has to do with eye movements. There's two types of eye movements. One is called a saccadic eye movement, and the other is called a smooth pursuit eye movement. So the difference between these two, this requires movement, okay? So if things are moving around, your eyes move in this manner. If things are not moving around, your eyes will move in this manner. So here's a saccadic eye movement. You see, though, it's like a quick stop and go motion. Okay, that's a saccadic eye movement. So that's how your eyes are moving. When you're reading like this, your eyes will move word by word, and it looks like that, saccadic in nature. Now, smooth pursuit, here's what that looks like. See, that's a lot smoother, right? Now, that's when your eyes are tracking something that's moving around. So, for example, if you were using your hand to guide your eyes are moving in that manner. Let me show you them side by side so you can see the difference here. Whoops. Side by side, let's go. So you can definitely tell a difference between the one on the left and the one on the right. So again, the reason why you want to use your hand, finger, or pen is because, again, your eyes are naturally attracted to motion. You'll initiate that eye movement, and that actually helps you focus a little better. Also, I realize we're not always reading on the page, and sometimes we're reading on the screen. And the average person reads slower on the screen, believe it or not. There was a study done a number of years ago where they looked at this, and it was 32% slower on the screen. So if you want to read faster on the screen, there is a free tool that we created called Accelerator. And I'm going to type a link in the chat. Accelerator.com. If you go to that link that I just posted in the chat, basically what this does, let me show you real quick. I'll do a little demo of this thing. Oh, by the way, if you're just joining us now, here's the winner of the contest. Contact us, paul@irisreading.com, if you want to retrieve your Kindle Scribe. Now, let's take some sample reading material here from The Onion. Not sure if you're familiar with The Onion, but The Onion is America's finest news source. We're going to read this article right here. Doomsday prepper hoards Chili's gift cards in case he needs casual dining after the apocalypse. Okay, so we're going to read this very, very short one-paragraph article. We're going to copy and paste this text into the program. It's called Accelerator. If you go to accelerator.com, that's where you can find it. This is a free speed reading tool that we created. If you click Begin, focus right here. These are the first two words of the article. When I hit Read, it's going to start blinking the words on the screen at whatever speed we set in the program. Now, I'll show you 200 words per minute, but I have a feeling 200 words per minute for a lot of you is going to be weak sauce, because I think you could probably go faster than average. So let me disable my webcam temporarily. Goodbye. And I'm going to, let's start reading through just this article right here. Doomsday prepper hoards Chili's gift cards in case he needs casual dining after the apocalypse. Let's try it out. Here we go. Okay, so I think you get the idea. That was going, I think for a lot of you, you could go faster. And maybe it was too fast for you, but I think average speed is 200. We could go faster. Let's try it out. We're going to bump it up to 300. We'll take another article here, so related to the apocalypse. Financial experts recommend just waiting until chaos is law of the land. So we're going to read this one. We do the same thing. Copy the text, paste it into the program. You hit begin. Let's bump up the speed. There are some keyboard shortcuts. You could do that there by just hitting the up arrow key to change the speed by 25, or you can just change it in the settings however you want. You see, that's where you could change the speed. By the way, we're going to go 300 words a minute, but you may have noticed it was blinking 2 words at a time. Let's change that to 3 words at a time. Let's see if you can still keep up going 3 words at a time. All right, so here we go. 300 words a minute, 50% faster. All right, so that was 300 words per minute. And by the way, I should mention, since we're doing a live stream, on your end, this may blink at a It's supposed to blink at a consistent pace, and it will if you're using it on your own. But if we're doing a live stream, it might stutter. So it might like pause for a moment, and it depends on the stream, if our internet connection goes up or down. So all of those things play a part. So just something to be aware of when we're talking about reading on the screen. Now, here's another concept you might want to think about. Can you read 20% faster? So it's best to get a baseline first. So if you want to try this on your own, just read for a minute, time yourself, whatever material you want, and count how many words you read in that minute. That'll be words per minute. And again, the average is around 200 words a minute. Actually, we have some slides related to the averages, just so I could give you a little more nuance here, in case you're curious. That's the average for the general populace, 150 to 250. But for college-educated adults, it's a little higher. 200 to 300 is where most people fall if they're in college or beyond college. So just something to be aware of. And I had this question on the screen. Let me pull it up again here. Can you read 20% faster? What if you know your speed is 200 words a minute? 20% faster, that's like going around 240 words per minute. Could you do it? Well, you probably can. And here's the thing. When you push yourself to go a little bit faster, sometimes what that does, it automatically increases your focus. Why? Because you're going faster now, so you have to pay more attention. It's kind of like when you're driving a car and you're getting onto the highway, don't you all of a sudden start paying more attention, right? Not only because you're going faster, but you may want to make sure you don't crash, right? But for a lot of people, just trying to give themselves a little bit of a nudge can help with boosting your speed and focus at the same time. And if you have a solid concentration level, you're going to have better comprehension as well. One other very, very important tip. This is actually a good tip for comprehension. If you want to easily get better comprehension, change up your speed. Don't always go at the same speed. That's the problem. Now, you might change your speed from book to book, but I'm talking about keeping, most people when they read, they go at a consistent pace throughout all the paragraphs. I'm talking about slowing down a bit sometimes, speeding up other times. So if you have an article like this, actually this is just a good rule of thumb. Slow down on the first sentence of each paragraph. And you already know why, right? The first sentence is usually what? Main idea, topic sentence. So if you slow down and speed up, that's a good way to get better comprehension because you're focusing on those main ideas first, and then you're speeding up a little bit. So slow down a little bit, speed up. When I say slow down, speed up, I don't mean like ridiculously slow. And when I say speed up, I don't mean ridiculously fast. So it's like if we zoomed in on this first paragraph here. So by the way, the title of the article is India's Skills Famine. All right, so we'd slow down here. The economic transformation of India is one of the great business stories of our time. Sounds like a main idea to me. I'm going to take that and I'm going to try to run with it. So I'm going a little bit faster, getting my details. When I get to the end of the paragraph, I'm going to put on the brakes. I'm going to slow it down on that next first sentence. You see it reads, but India has run into a surprising hitch. On its way to superpower status, its inexhaustible supply of workers is becoming exhausted. That's another main idea. I'm going to take that and run with it. Let's go a little faster. Next paragraph, same thing. How is this possible in a country that every year produces 2.5 million college graduates and 400,000 engineers? Another main point, let's get the details. So we're slowing down, speeding up. We see the next paragraph here reads, there was a time when many economists believed that post-secondary education didn't have much impact on economic growth. Another main idea. So now we speed up. The irony of the current situation is that India was once considered to be overeducated. That's kind of a funny sentence, right? Like, how could a country be overeducated? That doesn't even make sense, right? That's a good thing to be overeducated. And then we're going to get our details. Since the Second World War, the countries that have made successful leaps from developing to developed status have all poured money, public and private, into education. And here's the last paragraph. India has taken tentative steps to remedy its skills famine. The current government has made noises about doubling spending on education, and a host of new colleges and universities have sprung up since the mid-1990s. So you see how all those first sentences give us a lot of information, right? So changing your speed forces you to pay attention. Have you ever had a teacher that spoke in a monotone voice? Anybody that speaks in a monotone voice, it's hard to like pay attention to them because, I mean, they're speaking in a monotone voice. The speed of a monotone voice is the same. The voice level of a monotone voice is the same. And when things are not changing, your mind loses focus. So if you're going to be reading faster with better comprehension, you want to be switching things up. You're going to slow it down, and then you're going to speed it up. Slow it down, speed it up. Makes you a more dynamic reader. Now, if you were paying attention when I was reading all these first sentences out loud, you kind of know what this article is about, right? It's about India, shortage of skilled labor. They're talking about the economy, education. You have those big ideas in mind. What if you were to read this article right now? Wouldn't you read it faster than you otherwise would have? Like instead of starting cold, this brings us to one other very, very important concept. If you're going to be speed reading or just reading more efficiently, before you read anything, you should absolutely always inspect what you read. And that just means get familiar with something before you read it. I know that sounds obvious, but you know what? 95% of readers don't do this. Most people are like, okay, page 1 of chapter 1, let's do this. And they just start reading from the beginning, and now they're on page 2, and slowly but surely they'll get to the end. But if you were to jump around, and I should qualify this, you don't necessarily jump around in fiction, but I'm talking about nonfiction here. For informational material, it's a good idea to jump around. When you're inspecting, well, for a one-page article like this, you read the first sentence of each paragraph. Okay, got the main ideas? Now read the article, and you'll read it faster with better comprehension. Or don't read the article. Maybe you read the first sentence of each paragraph and realize, you know what, this is not worth my time, or I'm no longer interested. Or you might be like, you know what, this is very interesting. I do want to read it. But now I have the ability to read it faster with comprehension because I've inspected the material first. Now, when it comes to like, for those of you preparing for standardized tests, here's what you can do. Same thing, read the first sentence of each paragraph. You got your questions, right? Read your questions, not the answer choices, just the questions. And step 3 is read the passage. So it's a 3-step process. First sentences, questions, passage. That's going to make it much easier to answer those questions if you follow this process, because how do you remember things? Isn't it through repetition? This is 3 exposures to the information. So this is a better approach. If you're reading something more complex, like a chapter, or if it's a journal article or a report, you start with the intro, right? You might say intro, it might say executive summary, it might say objective. Read the introduction and then read the headings and subheadings. And then while you're going through, you might have bold-faced words, italics. You might have some charts and diagrams. Just read the titles of those charts, tables, or diagrams, or figures, or however they're calling it. You read the conclusion as well. And that's how we could be more efficient when it comes to our reading. Now, if you are interested in learning more, I've got here, we're going to be wrapping up some ways to engage with us. Obviously, we have a YouTube channel, so you can click like, share, subscribe, things like that. We'll be putting out more content. We're going to do more of these live streams and giveaways. So we will send an email to you about the next giveaway if you're on our list. But we've got an awesome group, Facebook group called Book Lovers Assemble. So if you want to check out that, we're also on Instagram if you want to follow me at Paul G. Nowak, at iris.reading, like I said, YouTube. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, just make sure, let me know that you were checking out one of our live streams, and I'm happy to connect with you. Otherwise, I get a lot of spammers that are contacting me constantly to tell me this and that. So I usually ignore LinkedIn connection requests, but if you send me a little message and say you watched the live stream, I'm happy to connect with you. So thank you all so much. I hope you found this session helpful. And by the way, congratulations to our winner. I should bring that up one last time before we get out of here. Our winner is Pretty in Hot Pink 6 at somethingsomething.com from East Orange, New Jersey, apparently. All right, so congratulations. And please feel free, if you have any questions related to speed reading, memory, note-taking, study skills, things like that, feel free to reach out. I don't have my email on here, but my email is just paul@irisreading.com. So thank you all so much for joining us. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll catch up soon. Take care.